Well, hey guys, I've got a new steering column for the Spitfire project, as the old one is a little bit mangled around the top and has actually got sliced down the middle of it for some strange reason. So I've got this steering column, it's actually from a previous project and it's already painted and I've already got new bushes in it. So we'll get that in the car. Also, I've got an uprated steering UJ from Mohr Europe. Now these steering UJs are so much better over the original type because the original ones were rubber bushed around the UJ and they tend to wear and you tend to get a bit of a vague steering. The uprated ones from Mohr Europe, the steering is much more precise and they're worth every penny of buying one. So anyway, let's get these on the car. So the first job we've got to do is make sure the steering is nice and straight. Then we'll disconnect the battery, then we'll take the steering wheel off, then after that disconnect the steering UJ and then slowly take everything apart and disconnecting all the electrics off of the steering column. Now as we disconnect the electrics, we'll just note which order the electrics go back in and which wire goes where. If we're unsure, we can always label stuff up or refer to the manual. Fortunately, trying to do colour code all their electrics, so it does make life a lot easier. But if we are unsure, we can always label stuff up. So anyway, let's get this all out. That's the steering column out, and to be honest with you, I'm not impressed in the slightest with the repairs on this. It looks like somebody's used what looks like a Hoover pipe as a bit of spacer there, just stop the steering column moving up and down. That is quite frankly just awful. Then moving on to the actual steering UJ itself, it looks like just a piece of just steel or something like that has been used between these two connections. Really, that should be a little eyelet connector, or originally they were just a bit of braided wire that went between the two, but an eyelet connector crimped to another eyelet connector with a piece of wire, it would be just a much better repair. That's just an absolute bodge. So yeah, not impressed. And as I said, you could see this horrible gouge as you was looking down the steering column. That there isn't even doing anything, this little spring. Yeah, just not impressed at all. So fortunately I've got all the bits to do it, so we can put it all back together and actually start to convert the car to overdrive as well, because I've got an overdrive switch to put in. So that's the next process. So let's get this in bits, put it all on the new steering column and put it back together properly. So if you are going to upgrade your steering UJ to a much better one like supplied by Mohr Europe, then something you've got to bear in mind is that this steering column UJ is half an inch longer than the original. That's not a problem at all, because these steering shafts actually do move up and down inside themselves through this little pinch bolt nut thing. So yeah, if you was just going to do that, you'd have to undo this little pinch bolt, slide the steering shaft up, obviously undo these two bolts, take off your original UJ and replace it with this one, then just slide this down and clamp it in place, and make sure you read up how these are actually pinched in place in the Triumph manual. It's important you get that right so you don't get any clicking or clonking through the steering shaft. The other good thing about these upgrades is that they don't actually need an earth, because that is all metal, whereas the original steering UJ has got rubber joints between it, hence why it needs an earth wire running between the two bolts. It's a good upgrade to do, I highly recommend it. So I've got everything where it should be. The indicator cancelling lug is aligned in about the right position, so it shouldn't cause us any trouble. We've got the steering UJ, the new one, in place. Everything's aligned up. It's now just a question of putting the brackets in place and putting the furniture back on.
steering column and uprated UJ fitted to the Spitfire project. And just as predicted, the steering is so much more precise. It's actually interesting, when I removed the steering column, I found a little hole halfway down it, which suggests to me that it's actually a steering column off a Triumph Spitfire Mark IV. So it seems like at some point in this car's life, there's been a Triumph Spitfire Mark IV that's just been gutted for all its parts to keep this car on the road. So what I'm slowly going to do is get rid of all those Mark IV parts and trace down Mark III parts and put them into the car. Now, something else I did do when I changed the steering column is I actually added this overdrive switch, which is a long-term aim to actually fit overdrive to this car. So it's a step in the right direction. But as always, guys, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.